We're gonna do or I'm doing a demo for a digital collage on PowerPoint. Generally speaking, the Google programs are very similar to the Microsoft programs. So if you do this on Google Docs, it'll be pretty much the same. However, please don't submit any work in Google Docs or in a share format because it just never works in my experience. I get those a lot and they just never work and then we have to resubmit. So please just stick to Microsoft. You do get the program through the school. So you're going to open a presentation. This is a new presentation. And maybe make sure we're sharing here. Yes, we are. Okay. So, um, okay. Oh, there we go. Ooh. I have some photos on my desktop that I will be um, inserting into the file. So that's pretty easy. You just open up the file wherever you have them in. I just moved some over from my AirDrop some from my phone. So I'm going to start out with some pretty simple photos. There's some geometric forms and shapes and also some more organic shapes. There's different textures to it. And then I just basically drag this into my page on my PowerPoint. Um, and then you're going to have the option to go directly to picture format. When you drag in a photo, it goes directly to that menu bar up here. So this gives you a bunch of different options of what to do with this image. So the first thing I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to close this designer thing because I don't need that right now. I'm going to copy this image a few times so I have it in different versions, and then we can also see, stop suggesting ideas, PowerPoint. Um, we can see what we can do with some of these. So we're thinking about composition. We looked at a lot of different artists throughout this past the 20th century to see what they've done and how a lot of these principles and elements of design are applied not only in fine arts but also in product design, posters, propaganda, advertising, magazines. That I know that's kind of a dying breed now, but magazines used to be like a real interesting place for trying out new designs. So we're going to try different types of styles. I'm kind of thinking of like a digital version of what maybe Hannah Hesh would have done, or even like artists like Nagi or Bauhaus artists, thinking of simple shapes, repetition, rhythm, and pattern. So alone here, I can align this to make it just just something like that can be really interesting. What I can use with this digital tool is these transparency effects. So I can like layer these images um, over and over each other like that. Then I can also do shapes by going to um, insert, and let's say, what would be a cool shape? Maybe a moon. So I can do like a moon shape here with this design that I have. Like maybe I'll just do the cloud part actually. That might be interesting. Um, I can determine with my mouse what I want it to look like. And then I let go of my mouse and I go to shape fill. I go to picture. And then the picture that I'm using right now is the black and white version of it. I'm going to actually just click on no, let me stick to the black and white version. So this is process, guys. Working things out while I'm talking to you. So here I have this shape of the image. Yeah, this moon shape. And then I could think about layering that. I can also move this around a little bit. So I could do that. And then I can copy it and do a bunch of them. Yeah. I can move them around easily. And once you get fluid in this, and even if you're not, if you're somebody who prefers to work analog, I would still encourage you to try this just because um, it is an extension of the medium. It also will give you a different skill set, and you'll also notice that some things just go a lot quicker than having to cut things out or copy them a million times on a copy machine or Xerox machine, and doing all that work in an analog format. Everything has like its pros and cons for sure. So this I can also play with in terms of transparency, color. So these are all these different saturation, um, also like contrast things I can do with that. So it's still the same image, it's just slightly modified. And then I can create a whole another thing over here with this, with these shapes that I did. So let's look at this real quick. I'm going to copy this and go here, do a new slide, blank, and paste it in here. I have this image again. Um, I want to check out what other artistic effects I have. And again, I'm kind of thinking of a very like black and white. I want to think of repetition, hard lines. That I don't like so much, so I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm actually gonna go to color and do something like this. Yeah, I'm gonna copy that, paste it. So I have two of them. I can think about doing like this mirroring thing. Um, let's see, you should be able to mirror stuff as well. I think that's over here. No, I'm not super fluid in this. I've been playing around for it for a few years, but I know there's a way to do that. So that's an option. Mm, Reordering objects might be important if you want to layer them differently. But what I have in my mind right now is to create these like strips of this image and then rearrange them. So I'm going to go back to insert and I'm going to go to shapes. I'm going to use like a diagonal rectangular, sorry, not diagonal, but a rectangular shape. It's not diagonal. Um, hmm. Wonder if I could actually draw it. So let me go to draw. It's not lasso, maybe design. No. Doubt it's animations. No. Go back to draw. See what else they got here. No. Let me just try lasso and see. No. I don't know how to use lasso. Sure, it's probably a lot easier than I think. Let's see. There's gotta be There's got to be a shape that I want here. Only diagonals. That's so odd. Let me just go with this. Oh, I can draw it. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna make the strip pretty thin. Actually, I'm gonna move it over here. And then I'm gonna do the shape fill again. So picture. Mm-hmm. I would like squeezed it in there, and then I'm gonna go to design. No, sorry, picture format. I'll go to color and then I'll do that step that I already did again in there. And then I'm going to copy that and paste it over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And then I'm going to start arranging this in in like a certain way. Overlapping. There's a lot of repetition again with that. Yeah. So this is something that one could probably spend a lot of time on. Um, So that's another option of what you can do. Now, if we think about text and image and you're making, either a more commercially oriented sort of poster or work, um, you could think about how you want to present an image. So I'll go back to here, and this time I'm going to do like sort of a sky landscape. And I'm thinking I might want to make like an ad for air or something. I don't know. I'm going to crop this because I don't want any people in there. We want to just focus maybe a little bit on that skyline right there and the sky. Then I want to make this image as big as I can on here. And then I want to think about adding text. So inserting text boxes like this, and then playing around with different fonts and typographies. So I really love this one. It reminds me of Art Nouveau. And I'm just going to type in fresh air, and I'm going to blow that up a bit. It's way too small, so I'll make it about 80. So this is pretty. I am not a graphic designer. I'm a fine artist, so this is not my wheelhouse. There's other people who are definitely better at this. So I don't know how I spelled air wrong. I think that's how you spell it. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to show you guys some options of like what you can do in terms of like the um, placing the fonts, the text in different ways. Um, hmm, oh my goodness. Okay, really hard to do that. There we go. So I can move it around. I can also layer them, so I could move this like on top of it. And then something that you may have noticed a lot with Bauhaus designs is that they use a lot of really basic shapes. They pretty much only worked with primary colors. So, and the Swiss design was also heavily impacted by that. So if we do want to do like a minimalist poster, we can also do that um, on this program. So let's do shapes again. So we're going to do some basic shapes. So a circle. And we're going to fill the shape with one of the primary colors, so red. And I do rectangle. So I'm going to do in a primary color blue. And then I definitely need to have yellow in there. Go and let's see, let's do a triangle. I'm actually going to move this a bit. That. Now I haven't pre-planned much of any of this here. I don't know if I really want an outline though, so I might rethink or check if I can change that. Ooh, gradients, you could do that. That would be fun. Let's do that. And then let's do some lines too. So I'm not sure how to get rid of the outline, but we'll just leave that in there for now. More shapes right here. Let's do some lines. Oh, gotta click it again. Draw, oops, insert, nope, design, nope. There we go. What it's also letting me do here is the color and the thickness. So let's do that. And then I want to change this one too. It's going to be black. Um, and on that note, I wonder if that will also give us an option to change the outline of this, but it doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, I'm gonna do some more shapes in here. Let's see. What's the Bauhaus like? They did like basic shapes as much as they like basic primary colors. So shape fill here, maybe gradient. Well, let's determine the color first. Let's do black this time. They also used a lot of black. Um, So here are these different theme styles. There's a lot of things you could experiment with. Once you have a clear idea of what you want to do, I'm really just kind of freestyling it over here. You definitely have my encouragement to experiment and also let me know if you just need more time to finish your project and you can send me your process stuff. That's always an option. As someone who works pretty slowly, one of the things I really hated about school was like everything had such a, like we just had to finish projects in such a short amount of time. All right, so we have these basic shapes kind of basically just on our surface in a pretty spontaneous way. And then I want to think about adding text to it. So this is going to be my text box. Let's try this here. I've never used this before. My text box for this class. So it's going to be like a basic design. And of course, I would want to use a more, we could either use the Bauhaus font, which is very bold, basic design. Class is called art. It's numbers 115, basic design. Um, and then let's make believe that it's like an in-person class. And then we could put the information down here. We could even think about using a different font for that, maybe Helvetica, as we learned, the most popular font. Let's say classes are Thursday and Thursdays. Um, 3 to 5. And then I can think about, do I want this in a bigger size? And then also I want this in a bigger size. I want this like 80. Let's do it real big. Also did this weird thing that it didn't change the size of the whole thing, only part of it. This could probably be smaller. Considering balance, placement, and all this kind of stuff is really something that graphic designers are masters in. For someone like me who paints more, I think my brain works a little bit different in that way. But I still have this like basic idea of how I want different elements of my design to go together and where I want them to meet and intersect. So we definitely know that our eye is going to be drawn to the center of this design. So where all the shapes kind of come together, where there's the where most of the action is right there. Yeah. I did something similar up here where I inserted a photo into this shape, and then I can think about how I want to line that shape into this other photo. So there's a lot of different options on how to experiment with this and how to turn in the assignments for this week and the following week's themes. because we're really kind of we're really bringing all the elements of art together and we're going to put them in a more, or you're going to learn how to use them within the principles of design so that you can really kind of get fluent in composition. So there's a lot of experimentation that goes on there. So this is not a balanced design right here, right? So this is way too much going on. I'd really have to sort this in a way and align it and organize it compositionally that it would be more pleasing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like start deleting some of these. And this is also so nice is that like you do something you don't like and you just like do 2 clicks and it's over. It's done. Go on. So think about what you want to do here. You can really just play around with one image and see what you can do with just that one image, like we did up here and here. So these are both with the same image. Um, and then creating like um, letter blocks. You can do this with highlighting. And then if you want that to overlap, remember, go back to, was it? Yeah, reorder objects. Whoa, this is cool. Never done this before. And then put that into the front, or almost the front. Let's see how that looks. Okay, there we go. So it just like did this whole three-dimensional overlook for you. So you can decide which image you want to have at the front. So again, that was reorder objects. Yeah. And you just go to cancel. So here are a lot of different options for you to experiment using different types of photos. You could even create, let's do one like kind of surreal um, collage. So here's an image from the Olympic Peninsula of this incredible tree. One thing we haven't done yet is we haven't, here we go, let's do this. So this is taking up the whole page, and then I'm going to put in another one. Yeah, I'm going to make this one smaller. I'm going to close this because I don't need this anymore. And then I'm going to make some copies of this. And then I'm going to play around with transparency. So it kind of turns into like this almost like psychedelic echo, like a visual echo. Um, and then I actually think I'm going to get rid of some of these. I think I need those. Just want to make sure I don't get rid of the transparency ones because I do like that. Um, and then I want to animate. No, let me do a shape. I'm going to do a big square. It's going to be like a +2 for this. I'm going to do that. I want it to be a black square. And I'm going to have to do the order objects real quick. So I want this to be on top of that so that it layers on there. Yeah. This one I don't need anymore. Just going to use these kind of transparent ones. The background's gonna kind of come through. And then I also want to see what happens if I add like another sort of like natural thing to it. And this one I want to cut out. Um, crop that, crop to shape. And it should sort of let me make the shape. Let's do decisions. kind of want like a more organic shape, so I'm gonna go with this. No, that looks cheesy. I don't like that, so I'm gonna go back. What's this? Ah, here's if you want to do a mirroring. So I'm just gonna show this real quick. Yeah, you can do that to mirror it. It's, under picture format, this this icon right here. All right, let's crop in a shape. So I think I'm going to go to draw. I'm going to try this lasso thing again. I'm going to left click it. Okay. No, it doesn't work. I keep trying. It just won't do what I want it to do because I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Picture format, crop. Um, I don't like how it doesn't let me determine the shape, like where it's going to crop it out. So let's go to shapes here and do it the other way around. Um, and we'll just work with a rectangular shape. So it'd be just kind of like a cutout like that, I guess. Maybe. And when if you have an Adobe program, there's definitely easier ways to do this with like Adobe. Oh, you know what? I just saw something. Let's draw, insert. What does this do? Change shapes, edit points. Let's try that. There we go. Now we have a little more control and we can actually create our own shapes. So I had to choose the shape first, and then this icon would come up that would let me kind of decide what it's going, how I'm going to make the shape look. Now I have to do this double step again with the picture instead of just how I hoped it would be from the image that's already on there. So um, not exactly. Oh, it'll still let me move it around. Okay, that's cool. There we go. Oof, my goodness. All right. And then I can move this around. Yeah. I'm gonna get rid of this. I don't need this one anymore. So here are some other like options. If you want to do people and sort of surreal creatures, you can pull images from the internet as well. I'll show you guys that just real quick. Um, let's say a cat head. Cats are always fun. Oh, this one's kind of grumpy. Looks a little bit like a grumpy cat. There's grumpy cat. Um, sorry, draw. That's what I need to insert. Yep. Um, go back to picture format, crop. And then it's not giving us that option. That's too bad. Yeah, I think because, this isn't really meant to be like a photo editing or like an image editing program, like let's say Illustrator or something like that. So it probably just has like these other steps you have to do. If you're fluent, um, with this app, then probably would be a lot easier. So I guess the only way I can change the shape is after I have made a shape and then I'm at shape format. And then I have all these different options. So then I can move the shape around in different ways with these points. And I can create um, my own types of shapes in within the boundaries of what this app can do. And there might be, other ways to do this. And if you know them, that's great. So let's see if we have a picture. I guess we're going to use this one again. Yeah, it will squeeze in the entire picture, it looks like, and it won't really cut it out the way I was hoping it would. But either way, then you can manipulate that and then you could probably still cut it. I still don't understand why we have this outline. No outline. Yay. There we go. And then, yeah, I don't know what to do with this cat at this point. This is where, for me personally, doing these kind of more like creature collages and stuff like that is a lot easier for me to do in, oh, here's our shape format thing. It's still going. A lot easier for me to do in analog. Right now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this, paste it, try to get that same shape again, or similarly. I can kind of create this like mirrored image. Yeah. Um, there's a lot of different things you can do on PowerPoint. So I hope that was helpful for the next few weeks assignments that you will be doing either digital or analog, um, or both. In some cases, some weeks you will be doing both. So I hope this was helpful. Um, a lot of the skills that I learned or a lot of the things that I know, I just learned by experimenting. So there are YouTube videos that will explain some things specifically. And also, if you have like a very specific question about how do I do XYZ, you can YouTube that. Or you can go on the Microsoft website. They probably have some information, excuse me, there too. If you have an iPad or if you have a different program that you're using where you're doing digital art, you can totally do that too. But please think of the fact that you're probably going to need to use lettering at one point, and you're going to have to be able to use images from your own library. Just taking images from the internet can be tricky, especially if you're going to like sell the work. If it's just for school, it's really not that big of a deal, but you can also find images that are open source that you're definitely legally allowed to use. Yeah. So I hope that was helpful. And please feel free to write me.